So I'm getting lots of questions, Lucy, when I talk to people about is SEO dead? What's changed in SEO? Does SEO even work anymore? So what's your view with all of the ChatGPT models out there, Gemini, Claude, all of that sort of stuff? What's your view? What's your perspective?
I think what we've got to remember is that SEO is always changing, and there's always something new that we have to account for and look into. If we look back through the history of SEO, we've had updates in the past. We had Panda updates, Penguin updates. All of these updates have made us shift how we work slightly.
Are they always animals?
No, not with Google.
Okay, just ask.
So it's not something new that this changes, because we work in a very fast-paced industry. But obviously, I would say the rise of the AI platforms are kind of like maybe one of the first external factors that has influenced SEO, rather than it being dominated by Google making a change. Google is now one of those AI platforms that's making changes that we have to adapt to. Unlike previously, Google has made a change in the algorithm and we've had to adapt. Now it's a case of we have actual new platforms that we have to learn and understand and work out how we can make our campaigns perform best for our clients.
Yeah. Okay, I think I had a good chat yesterday with someone who's they've been paying for SEO for a while, and their traffic numbers at their agency they work with were kind of all over the show. They were kind of showing they were going up, then they were spiking down again. But the consistent bit that he'd seen was that his inquiries had kind of just tanked off overall from all sources. So how do people, when they're looking at their numbers from their kind of, let's say, digital inquiries, how do they draw kind of truth from what's going on? What's your perspective?
I think previously we in the industry believed that people search very directly. So you look for a mobile phone, you type in cheap mobile phone, for example, or cheap car insurance, and those three words realistically aren't what that person's looking for. And now people are actually having active conversations with the AI platforms, asking them questions, putting in their own scenarios, so no one's searching the same as anyone else. So that buyer journey looks very different. So rather than now just being like, I need to be dominant in Google, you now need to be visible in the search engines, you need to be visible on social media, you need to be visible on the AI platforms. So it's more about visibility now, more than am I just in the one place where my customers hanging out, because your customers are hanging out in different places now. So I think it's having that online spread of visibility across different platforms to make sure you can be found.
Okay, and like sort of going back, like when I first got involved in the business, maybe 10 years ago, it was kind of content was king, is what you used to tell me. Is it kind of still the same now?
Oh, definitely. I think it's easy now to make content with AI, but obviously AI does get it wrong sometimes, and people can very easily pick out if a piece of content is AI written, and perhaps if it's a more technical subject or it's a more pricey purchase, people actually want a human's expert opinion on something, so that valuable content is even more valuable now, especially if it's detected as being human written versus AI written, and that's where the value probably comes in more.
Okay, all right. And what I was chatting to this person about yesterday is I still, just as a numbers person, I mean the inquiries are what kind of drives whether your marketing effort works, right? So can people still track for the content that they put out via whatever platform it is? Is it still as easy to track which content is generating the most amount of inquiries?
You can definitely see which content's getting the most reads, so for people who come to your website. But obviously if that is really great content and it's giving people information that they need, is your content almost outperforming your website because it's being shown in AI search results? So we're seeing the introduction of the zero-click search, where consumers are now finding the information they need in the AI search results and therefore don't need to visit your website. So you need to be really compelling to obviously make them make that leap from those AI results to your website.
So there's a balance, I guess, between writing something that's useful enough for the AI search results and for the user, but leaving enough on the table for them still to want to click through for that citation on the search result to take you through to the website. Is that kind of?
Yeah, you need that bait there to encourage them to actually come to your website. And also, if your content's that good, it should be the thing that drives them to your website. Now that's not saying that they're going to come from the AI platform, but if your company is cited in the AI results, they might go and do a Google search, so they've jumped from one platform to another, they've gone from AI to Google, and they've jumped across into Google to search for you, they put your company name in, and then they might see your Google business profile, and therefore see your Google reviews. So if you've written this great piece of content and you've got no reviews, there's no user validation there in the form of a review that you're a great company. So that's what I mean about being visible on different platforms.
So it's all got to kind of hang
Link
together,
up.
which is kind of how it always was as well,
Yeah.
right? You can't have a great piece of content and then a 1-star review on your Google My Business profile validated by 500 reviews, right? And that's
exactly
that's going to get rid of all of the good work that you do on your content.
Yeah,
Okay.
but if you've got great reviews, they might end up clicking on your Google listing in Google. So and in fact, you might see brand searches increase, and more like generic searches end up being 0-click searches because they're finding that information there in the search results already.
Yep.
So you might actually see an increase in brand searches if they're finding out what they need to know about you elsewhere, and then coming through Google and you're getting more of that brand
Gotcha.
search.
So the kind of world is kind of changed, like the way that kind of people browse and get there and research. But again, I'll come back to the numbers, right? It still comes back to where did the inquiries come from, what is it that drove them in there, and do more of that, especially if those inquiries turn into sales, and less of the vanity traffic stuff, which is kind of like how it was 10 years ago as well. You could do stuff to get traffic, but if you don't get inquiries from that traffic, it's kind of junk traffic, right?
It is, but then if you go back to the scenario I just said about, do you attribute that sale from Google Organic on a brand search, or was that the AI platform that do you attribute the sale to? So when we come down to like, where's that sale actually come from, how do you make the decision as to which traffic source has actually resulted in that sale? Because now if people are jumping around all over the place and going to different websites, different platforms, searching in different ways, how do you know which one was that true provider of that sale?
So for business owners and kind of marketing managers out there or marketing directors, how do they cut through and decide where to put their effort, where to put their time if they're going to write a piece of content? Like how do they decide what to focus on?
So this part probably hasn't changed and goes back to something I told on many years ago. You always want to put your content onto your website because obviously you own your website and you have control over it. If you're just writing content for other platforms, what to say that tomorrow you're locked out of your Instagram account and you've lost all that great value?
Well, so this is like the example of when we were getting contact from people that had Etsy shops and they were doing loads of money out of it, and then suddenly Etsy booted them off the platform.
Exactly.
And their whole business goes, or you want to
Exactly.
put it on the place
Yeah.
that you own.
Yeah. So and also that adds value to your business as well. Like you're creating something that's valuable, a website that's a great source of content that is part of your sales machine. So any content that you have that you is worthy of going on your website, you want to make sure that's on your website. Otherwise, like I say, you put it on your Instagram, put it on your Facebook, put it on your LinkedIn, you get locked out of your account, you get hacked, all these things can happen and do happen. And we have these conversations a couple of times a year with potential clients that business was going great and then they got locked out of their account and that's where the sales were coming from. So you always want to build up in stuff that you own and have control over.
All right. So best written content, put it on your website.
Yeah.
All right. In terms of topics, it's kind of become an expert, right? It's kind of what we've kind of spoken about before. So the more expert you can come across in the content that you write.
Yeah.
And it's referenced as well by other kind of credible sources. So
Yeah.
if your website gets authority from other credible websites, which is again how it kind of used to always work as well, right?
Your reviews back all of that up as well. So your Trustpilot reviews, your Google reviews, any other platforms that you might have reviews on, all of that can be seen by the AI platforms, so they know that.
Yeah.
And I think for ourselves, Trustpilot is probably the second or third site that's cited when we do a brand search for us. So that's another great way to see what websites the AI platforms are looking at when they're retrieving information about your business.
Okay.
And that might be a place to look at building up reviews, content, making sure the information is correct. Imagine an out-of-date phone number being on a cited source and we miss out on the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's always tricky with the reviews as well, right? Because there's so many different platforms.
Exactly.
Like, where do you get your reviews? I know for us as well, it's kind of at one point we focus on getting Google reviews from that side of things. Then there's a couple of other platforms that are in the industry that we try to get reviews for as well, which then kind of spreads the review effort because you don't want to be asking customers all the time.
Yeah.
And then Trustpilot is another one as well. So it is a tricky balance for people, kind of, where do I get my reviews from? There's not an easy answer. You kind of got to spread across the ones that are most cited, I guess, in your sector. So that's our kind of musings on what's changed with SEO over the last few years. I'm sure there's lots of kind of other topics that have added to this as well. If you've got any questions, just message us directly, or feel free to comment on the post on the different platforms that we put this on, and we'll do our best to answer those.